links. You can find the links on our Facebook page and the website. So we're looking for some greeters and some daily word readers for June. May is filled up. There is a sign-up sheet in the back. You can also see Ann and try and get June filled up. Prayer box. The prayer box is now outside. The cards are there on the table. They get prayed for here locally, and then we send them up to Silent Unity where they get prayed for 30 days. No offering being passed during the service, at least for a little while. There's a box outside, so before or after, feel free to use the prayer box, or the prayer box, the offering box. Tom will not be here next week, but India will.
Good.
So India Taylor is coming next week if you want to see her.
Yeah.
She will be here. And that's really all of the announcements. Everybody have something I don't know? All right, we're going to move on. Reading of the daily word. Mr. Jim Luke.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, I'm gonna present the daily word, and today's reader is divine strength invigorates my body and quickens my mind. If I feel my energy is waning during a time of physical or mental activity, I may get up and go is got up and gone. Mine does that a lot. The Faith of Prayer by Hannah Moore Coates. God is my strength, unfailing quick. The strength of my God is strength, and it is more than sufficient to meet my every need. More than toughness or forcefulness, spiritual strength is unset quiet fortitude, a rootedness in the inexhaustible wellspring of the divine. Today I release all my thoughts of energy or impossibility. I feed the prophet of design strength, power of design strength flowing through me, invigorating my body and springing quickly renewed clarity to my thoughts. The strength of God is my strength. For God's foolishness is wiser than human, and God's weakness is stronger than human strength. 1 Corinthians 1:25.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
I was scared y'all wouldn't be able to stand that because y'all don't speak Mississippi.
If you refer to your order of service, our opening prayer is printed there, and we can affirm that together. Unity Church of Boerne is a vibrant, loving, spiritual community, providing a sacred space for personal growth. We honor and celebrate the Christ within all people. So normally we'd bring the prayer box up, and the prayer box is outside. So Jay is just going to bless those.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Unity of Boerne is not only an oasis of love and the house that love built, it's a praying church. We affirm and uphold the good, the pure, powerful, the positive in our prayers and affirmations. And I would invite you right now that if you have a request that you would like to have prayed over, that you slip it in the box back there. It will be sent, not only will we pray over it, be sent to Silent Unity where they will pray over it for 30 days. If you have a concern that you're just holding in your mind or an affirmation of some kind, I invite you to join me right now as we pray together. Infinite Presence, we give thanks for answered prayer, and we know that you are the author and perfecter of our faith, and you long to give us every good thing that our heart desires. We line our intentions up with the best right now for what is in our hearts and in our minds. If we have a concern or a care, we place it lovingly in your hands. We know that your perfect will be done, and we align ourselves with that. We give thanks for the ability to join together, to blend our loving energies as one in a song to you of praise and thanksgiving. Thank you, God, for the gift of answered prayer. And we declare it is so. Amen.
Amen.
In the midst of his children, the Lord said he would be. It doesn't take very many. It can be just 2 or 3. And I feel that same sweet spirit that I felt oft times before. Surely I can say I've been with the Lord. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel his mighty power and his grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
In metaphysics, there is the idea of treating yourself. And when we think of treating ourselves, we think many times of giving ourselves certain gifts or something that we've wanted for a long time, or we look at it as treating ourselves to something outward. But the treating that I'd like to talk to you about this morning is treating yourself. And when you do that, you will find that these outward gifts will be added to you. It's interesting. It's really true. Seeking you first, the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added to you. And the kingdom of heaven, as we know, is inside ourselves. So what does it mean to treat ourselves? What does it mean when we do what Emmett Fox, the great metaphysician, wrote about in the 7-Day Mental Diet and in the Golden Key and Power Through Constructive Thinking? I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of these works, but what he said was, to treat yourself means to align yourself with the presence of the divine within you. And he was a proponent of going inside in the silence and asking and affirming. So you ask for what it is that you'd like to see more of. And we know that what you think about expands in any human level. But when we are in meditation and we are actively seeking the presence, to recognize the presence within ourselves, we are attuned that much more because we've silenced our minds in meditation. And sometimes we have a little trouble with that. You know about the monkey mind that jumps around in all kinds of places where when we're trying to affirm and do what we say is being spiritual by phone on Facebook, and evidently somebody attempted to call in. So, yeah, your part. Usually I just go right on, but it's a little bit difficult with that one. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
So the treatment that I'm talking about is highly individual and very personal. And you know in your heart of hearts what it is that you have need of, that you want to see more of. And it's about that this morning that I'd like to talk to you. Have you noticed that we see that some people have a way in life that they just keep getting more of what they ask for? It can work the opposite way. Those that are unhappy and miserable seem to get more of that or find more evidence of that in their lives. But those that are happy and joyful generally find happy and joyful things and people. It's a matter of perspective. And the treatment that I'm talking about and that Dr. Fox talked about, indeed Unity and Metaphysics talks about, is the treatment for ourselves for divine right action. The three words that sound very official, but really what it is sitting in the silence and seeking your heart's desire to be made manifest. The problem is sometimes we outline how that has to be. In other words, if we have given something to somebody, sometimes we expect it to come back from that same source. But the universe, as I found it, respects the idea that when you give, you're open to receive from any source. In other words, it doesn't have to come from the object to whom you gave. It can come from any number of places. And our openness and receptivity to that builds our faith. We see that our minds really are the creators of our reality, the molders of our destiny, the shapers of our experience. And so we feel more confident doing it as we continue on the path. Now, whether you're new on this path or whether you've been on it a long time, there are going to be times that you affirm your head off and you don't see what you want to have. That happens sometimes. One, it may not be for your highest good. Two, you may not have placed yourself in the flow of it. For example, I could affirm right now a childhood dream that I was the greatest quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. But it's not going to happen simply because of the time element, the human relativity in which we live. So when I talk about let's keep it real, let's do it in the sense of what we are able to do. Other people could say, I affirm that I'm going to be president. They might. Somebody has to do it. But generally, the flow that you're in, the thought system that you have established for yourself determines in large measure what you're going to receive. And I'm talking this morning about treating yourself for enlarging that system of thought. If the system of thought that you have this morning has given you limited results in a narrow way, I would challenge you to open that. And as we talked about last week, forgiveness is the key. As I've said and I quoted, metaphysics without forgiveness is useless because it mirrors exactly what the Master told us. If you have anything against your brother, when you come in prayer, forgive him, and it will be done unto you. So we have to sometimes forgive ourselves, forgive other people. And then our conduit is more clear. Spirit likes to go through and take the parts of us that need shaping and molding and refining and do that work in us. In fact, it does it for us 24 hours a day, whether we are conscious of that or not. That's just the basic keeping us alive. But when we use our creative mind, as Ernest Holmes says, when we get into the flow of divine ideas, magic happens. I wonder how many times each one of you have been asking for an answer in prayer or meditation, and 5 or 6 days later, it comes to you from a source or a place you didn't think it would. You see, we're all so interconnected. And that's why the thoughts that we hold, we want to be careful of, because we're going to resonate with people thinking the same thing. In Pathlighters, the meditation group that we started on Thursday night, we speak about intention. And the intention that we have is to let the thoughts that we are thinking blend with those who are thinking similar thoughts all around the world. So if we are holding a loving intention, or we're holding the highest good for one thing or another, we know that we are mixing because there is no space in prayer and thought. We know that we are mixing with those people who are thinking similar thoughts. They may not be exactly what we're saying, but the overall intent. And we know that intention means so much. Gary Zukov, in his wonderful book, The Seed of the Soul, wrote about intention. As a matter of fact, he had 2 chapters called Intention 1, Intention 2. And the way that I worked that out for myself when I read his beautiful words is there are intentions that we have every day. For example, if somebody walks up to me and smashes my foot with their foot, that's one intention. But if somebody inadvertently steps on my toes, that's another. One intention was, I didn't mean it, I'm sorry, it could be very loving. The other one was malicious. So the intentions that we hold, and we all operate in between those extremes. You see, the intentions we hold are so important for what we're going to see manifest. It's said, loving people live in a loving universe. Angry, hateful, negative people populate that same universe. Same one, different thoughts. You see, the ground of being to me is neutral. It's what God has given us to create. We choose by our avenues of thinking and our ways of processing information in our life, we choose in large part what we're going to experience. And as we come out of this pandemic, or it looks like we're taking steps to do so, I've said that I feel like this is a world waiting to be born. The one that was prior to the pandemic showed us a great deal of separation, anger between people. Sometimes families would turn against one another for the reason of politics or religion. It seemed as if we just divided ourselves up into one camp or another. That doesn't work in the long run. Surely we know that. We know instinctively because we love down deep the words unity, harmony, peace. These are things we know that work. We know that no one has, Dale Carnegie says, no one has ever built a statue to a critic or someone who's made their stock in trade to be negative and to look at life in the worst possible way. We honor the people who have treated themselves by their own internal action and gone out in the world and made a difference. And the only way you're going to make a difference in your world or the world out there is when your intention lines up with the God truth within you. And that brings me to the heart of what I'd like to speak with you about today. In our sacred texts, and I'm not just talking about the Bible, but I'm talking about New Thought. Some of our texts in New Thought are really sacred. In fact, all of them are, because I believe that they were all inspired. The authors were inspired to give us, partake of the inspiration that they had. And enough people resonated to it because the book sold and people love them to this day. So the sacred texts that I'm speaking of, for example, you could say A Course in Miracles, Lessons in Truth, the writings of Dr. Fox, the writings of Dr. Holmes, the writings of Edgar Casey, whatever it is, these are simply tools to get you to the place that you want to be. It's like taking the scenic way that you want to go to get there. Some people will get there with one sacred idea and another with another. But we end up hopefully in the same place, forgiven, loved, and ready to treat ourselves to life. Now, Dr. Raymond Charles Barker of Science of Mind actually wrote a book called Treat Yourself to Life. And in it, he said a lot of what I'm saying right now. I'm quoting him. The idea of sitting in the silence and deciding your heart's desire for yourself, for your world, for your life at large. The importance of that can't be overstated. We form our lives by the thoughts we think. I can't say that enough. We form our lives by the thoughts we think. What we hold in mind produces after its kind. Maybe not exactly on the level that we're holding it, but eventually thoughts have a way of boomeranging and coming back, because that's what we're looking for. And we will get what we're looking for. Our egos will make sure of it. We don't like to be wrong. So when I said that angry people inhabit an angry universe, they're treating themselves in the stillness of their, or the angst of their heart, and they're going to find other angry people resonant and consonant with them. Loving people, the reverse. They're going to find reasons and people and ideas that show love and the divinity. We, I know in this room, want to be those that shed the light, that show the light, that are the examples that we wish to be for ourselves and for others. So when I've spoken about forgiveness as a treatment, you know about that. The second thing that I'd like to do, and I probably should have done this in a series of messages, but the second thing is be clear about what it is you want. And there is nothing too small in spirit, and there's nothing too large. You may not get it, but you're going to get an equivalent some way. You may not get the thing that you are affirming exactly, but if you persist in that line of thinking, you are going to receive an equivalent idea at least. And through that idea, you may be led to refine your course and go upwards. You see, we create our reality, but it's not quite as simple as some people think. There's a lot of things that go into this. Not only our intentions, but our long-held and past cherished ideas or resentments or ideas, what we were told about ourselves when we were young. All these things register in the great subconscious, which is, as Dr. Smiley Blanton said, the subconscious is the place where God presides. And in that place, you're asked, what will you have consistently? When you align with that power and that source energy within you, you are aligning with the creativity of the universe itself. What keeps the planets in motion, what beats your heart, what wakes you up and puts you to sleep. It's just that you have made a specific usage of the power that's yours. And if there's anything that I'd like for you to know this morning, is that you are powerful beyond measure. Your own life shows the results of your thinking. Do you like that? Does that challenge you? Are you satisfied with that? And as we enter this post-pandemic world, as it looks like we're doing slowly but surely, I'd like for us to think about the world that we want to inhabit, not only outside of ourselves, but in ourselves. Have we garnered resentments about what's happening in the past 13, 14 months? We angry about it? Do we feel like somebody should have known better? Do we feel like there was malice in somebody's heart? I mean, all these things that we hear not only in the news but from our friends sometimes, and just talking, we could accrue such ideas about what this is. The truth is, we don't know exactly what this means. I have some ideas about what it may mean metaphysically, but they are just ideas. But I will tell you that I think if anything, this pandemic calls us to realize our oneness, working together, loving one another, and coming up higher as individuals and as a group of humanity. So when you treat yourself for what it is you want, whether it is a new job, a relationship, a car, better family relations, you have to model that inside. Each one of us carries inside of us disparate parts of what we want to see on the outside. We have some dysfunctional families inside ourselves. There are parts of us through the concepts that we live in that are angry or fighting with each other sometimes. The 13-year-old us meets the 28-year-old us, and the 28-year-old us meets the 50-year-old mother and father. All these things converge, and we're sitting here saying, I affirm, and I know it's right, and all the same time, we've got a small civil war going inside ourselves. And the way that I think that we get over that is to be able to sit in the silence and say, Spirit, show me where I need to come up higher. And when you say that sincerely, you're going to be shown. Maybe not at that moment, but you're setting the intention that this will be what you will find out as time goes on. We get what we're looking for. Spirit really does answer our prayers. It's just not always the way that we think. That's why I think it's so important to be open. You know, in the scripture it says, behold, I do a new thing. I don't think that was just 2,000 years ago. I think those new things are done now, and they'll be done eternally, because God is expansion and ultimate love, and has given us this lifetime as a proving ground for us to realize our own divinity and come up higher. We just get caught in the everydayness of it. One person looked at me and said, the problem with life is that it's so daily. And it is. But if we approach it with the idea that there's something exciting to learn, something new to take hold of, no matter what it is, the goals should be very, very subjective to yourself. So long as you're not hurting yourself or someone else, the sky should be the limit. Let go the opinion you have of yourself if it doesn't line up to anything that says that you aren't a divine, wonderful, perfect child of the Most High God. In her book, Lessons in Truth, Dr. Katie talks about our heart's desires. She talks about releasing those things that are antithetical to what we want to experience. So, affirmations and denials. In fact, Unity has a small little pamphlet by that very same title. I think we have some copies here. If not, I urge you to get it, or I will get it for you. But what it does in this, what it talks about, is that as you affirm what you want, you also deny anything in you, in the treatment, that would get in the way of what you want. For example, you could affirm that you'd like to lose some weight, but you also can't do that if you're eating pies, cakes, cookies, and candy bars. I found that out the hard way. So what I do is I deny the power of the desire for this against what intention I have set and what affirmation I have made. The affirmation is always more important than the denial. But the denial is important. And after a while of doing this, you'll find that the denials will sort of drop off. You won't need that. You'll be living into your answer. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the highest place you can be. Living into your answer. Think of the people that you know of in history or now that have lived into their answer. They're all over. They're politicians, philosophers, saints, sages. They have all made the difference by making a difference in themselves and saying, I am going to carry this out into the world and live it. Treating yourself is the beginning of the change you wish to see. So we know about forgiveness, and we know about deciding on what it is you want. That's highly subjective, but I urge you to think about what you want. It could be you want a better world than what we had prior to all this happening. Then you'll take the actions necessary, forgiving this virus, loving the fact that everybody was trying to do their best to find their way, and those that weren't doing their best, we forgive that as well. We come up higher as an answer to this thing that happened some time ago. That is the only way we get over it. But if we resent it, if we hate this time, if we say it's been misery, and it has for many people, but if we stay in that, it seems to me that we're setting the stage for something else similar. We've got to learn the lesson we've been presented by this collectively. And I very much believe we need to treat ourselves to understand that although we're individuals, we are one. We are one in divine mind, and you cannot choose sides on a round planet. Eventually, we'll have to understand that we inhabit this sphere in the universe, and that we respect, although not necessarily agree, endorse, condone, but we respect the right of others to hold differing opinions. And when we do that, we're reaching a mental hand first across to the other person, and then when we do that, we're going to be more ready to extend the physical hand. It always begins here. Life is only lived right here. By our decisions, by our thoughts, by our intentions. So the affirmation that I would suggest to treat yourself with is, I am open and ready to receive the divine flow of ideas that remake me and shapes me and puts me on my way to new life. And if that sounds very general, it is, but that's the beginning. Then I believe you're led to the specifics. But don't stop at that very first one, to be able to say, I am open. I have a mind that is open to everything and attached to nothing. It doesn't mean that you don't have opinions and values and standards. It means that you're open to a new activity of spirit. God does new things and does them with us. That's why we're here. We get to choose out of the ground of being and the free will and the choice that we've been given. We get to choose what we'll have. What will you have? What is the thing that makes your heart sing? What is the thing that you go to bed at night and get up with thinking of? That is what's going to expand in your life, because that's what you're thinking about. That's what drives you. You have to allow that expansion to happen. Let it take you in places that you've never been before. Inner space, to me, is even more awesome than outer space. You can think a thought right now. I can think a thought right now and be in the Louvre in Paris. I can think a thought and be standing on the moon where Neil Armstrong walked, through my memory. Think about the fact that there is absolutely no distance in our minds. We haven't explored well, I don't think. For all of our progress, we haven't explored inner space. And there's the visualizations and the affirmations and the ground of being. So I encourage us to expand ourselves today. In the midst of this constriction that happened a year ago, our answer is expansive loving. We do what we need to do to take care of our brothers and sisters. We're doing it now. We wear the masks, we've done the distancing, we do the hand sanitizer, and we're seeing the fruitage of things as they begin to return to normal. Yes, we do that. But we also forgive any part of us that holds on to any resentment or ideas that this shouldn't have happened. It may well, we feel like it should not have happened, but there was a reason that it did. And as I said, the loving, applying the loving to where it needs to be applied will, as far as I'm concerned, stem something like this from happening again. We know that love is always the answer. It's the answer to every question when you get down to it. The force that is for good, that impels us to want more, is nothing more than the loving presence of God. The heart that says, I want to grow, I want to expand, I want to experience more and new life. I want to reach out for new life. I'm not happy the way I am now. I want to change. So many people get stuck in that wanting to change thing, and they run from place to place and book to book and person to person when all they have to do is sit down and close their eyes and not be afraid of where Spirit leads them inside. We all have places, we all have chapters in our books we don't want read aloud. But the place to read that aloud is in the communion with your God. And you can straighten it out. That Spirit heals that. And if it can't heal it, it heals the memory. You get to choose. That's the agony and that's the ecstasy. That choice. That point where you make the decision either in favor of yourself or in favor of the negativity or what was past or what you say you'd like to let go of but just simply can't or really won't. Today, I invite you to remember forgiving and affirming. And next week, I'm going to talk about the third prong of this. So, see, that's a little hook, so you come back. Forgiveness, affirmation, and one other thing. Be careful not to outline how this good has to come to you. Because sometimes when we do that, we get to good, but it could have been so much more. When we are set with it having to be one way and one way only, sometimes we're blocking our own good. As Eric Butterworth says, we're stepping on the hose of the fountain of water that flows for all of us. We don't want to be stepping on ourselves and our power and our creativity. We want to be open and receptive and ready for new life. Notice I didn't say that it was always going to be nothing to fear. We have anxiety when we change, but it can be divine discontent. Do you get the idea that these words that we have used and listened to all our lives and heard people talk about to us, they can be changed to a positive? You can turn a twist on it. Fear can become the energy to do your best. So it said that fear is false evidence appearing real. I like that. And then I can turn it around and say, it's excitement. That feeling in my stomach that used to feel like it was fear and hard, it now becomes the excitement that I make a new decision about. Everything that we think about ourselves as negative can be turned into a positive if we look for it. And we can. We find what we look for. We just have to set a dedicated intention to do that. My prayer for you today, my affirmation for you today, is that you recognize the expansiveness that you have inside you. Doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter your situation, you can always come up higher inside. You always have the choice. That's the beauty. That's the wonder. That's the love of God. To love us so much, to allow us to grow towards our own divine potential. Mistakes and all, warts and all the things that we hold against ourselves, a loving Father, Mother God, sits inside ourselves and applauds us when we're making progress and binds us and picks us up when we need comfort by the thoughts that we choose to tune into. So in your station, your radio station, I'm going to say something really silly and cheesy, but let it be station LOVE. You're not going to lose that way. You can't love too much. Love is what we're about. And love that is secure and really believes in what it is allows somebody to make their own decisions and rise and fall on their own. That's true love. That's not controlling. That's not dogma. That's not what you've probably heard when you see traditional churches that tell you it must be their way or the highway. Real love lets you be who you are. Go and be all that you can this week. And remember, when you're affirming for what you want, always remember, God can also even top that and say, this or something better for the highest good of all concerned. Kind of like your divine insurance policy. You're the creator. Treat yourself to life. Make it wonderful. God bless each and every one of you. And now, I'd like for us to have a little meditation about our own power, our own need to let go, forgive, affirm. I want us to remember where we are right now, who we are. So I invite you to be aware of where you are. Your feet on the floor, your hands in your lap. Take a few deep breaths. And you're centered. And the Spirit of the living God in you is the light that shines through every crevice in you. You feel it and you see it inside as a brilliant, brilliant ball of golden light. And it starts at the top of your head. It knows what you have need of. And all you have to do is ask and prepare the way by releasing everything unlike that which you want to experience. And we do that now. As this light goes through our head and our neck and our shoulders, it heals, it reestablishes harmony. If it's a physical healing, it is done to us. If it is healing for our mind and our emotions, that's done too. We give up all sense of guilt, all sense of unworthiness, any feeling that we lack any good thing. This light reestablishes the harmony that we may have disrupted by our thoughts. What we hold against ourselves melts right now like the dew on a sunny morning. And as this light goes through our shoulders, our chest, it fills the places that we need it. Our minds agree and align with this harmony. And it moves down through our midsection. It flows through our arms, through our fingers. We feel alive with it. We feel it flowing through our legs, our knees, to our feet. We know that we are not only a physical body, we have a spiritual body. And that now comes to our healing. And in this special place, we forgive. And we recognize our inherent wholeness. Spirit holds nothing against us. We do. And we let that go. Our physical bodies and our minds and emotions now express in a perfect way. And we embrace this perfection and we carry it with us this week. we set our intention right now to be receivers of every good thing and releasing those things that we know aren't for our good. We affirm right now to live in a state of graceful forgiveness. We affirm that we know what we want, and we ask Spirit to show us the way, to walk with us, to guide us into our greater good. In this moment, we affirm life is on our side. Goodness is who we are. And any ideas to the contrary and any thoughts that don't line up with that, we release. We are remade right now. We carry this peace we feel right now with us through this next week. We are whole. We are loving. And we are loved. Now we gently bring our attention back to our surroundings, refreshed, recreated, and remade. And we know we can visit this special place anytime. It's a wonderful feeling to be able to relax and fall back into the arms of unconditional love. We give thanks that all the answers that we seek are made known to us. And we come forward refreshed and remade. And so it is.
Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
One of the wonderful things about giving is the feeling that we get when we give. I don't know about you, but when I give of my heart or my time, or it doesn't have to be money, but when I give something and I know that somebody really enjoys it or likes it, it just lifts my heart. And I know that each one of you probably know that feeling, and also know that what we do here takes money and funds for us to continue to offer ministry. And we do in so many ways, not only on Sunday morning, but through our book studies, through Pathlighters, through the things that we do here at Unity of Boerne. And in the divine law of giving and receiving lays the truth. You can't outgive Spirit, and we know that what you give comes back to you. Not necessarily perhaps in the way you think, but it just does, because that's the law of life. Sowing and reaping, giving and receiving. I invite you this morning to give your best gift to this ministry. We rely on your free will, tithes, and donations, and we need them very much right now. And so, if you can do that, I appreciate it. If you do not have something that you can tangibly give, I always invite those to picture something that they are thankful for in their lives, that they want to see increase of, and picture it in their hands like this. But if you have your physical gift, you can also put it in your hands and hold it forward. But picture what it is that you want more of and what you're thankful for, and then we repeat this blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I send it forth with my blessings and my love.
Freely, freely I have received. Freely, freely I give. Divine love to me blesses all that I am, all that I give and receive. All that I give and receive.
For those that are watching by internet, on Facebook or YouTube, I know I did not give the location for your gifts. I'd like to do that. Please send your gifts to Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. That's Unity of Boerne, P.O. Box 1973, Boerne, Texas 78006. Thank you for your gifts. I wish for all of you that you have a treat of your life this week, and that you treat yourself like the divine, wonderful creation you are, and treat yourself for those things that you want to see more of. It's my pleasure, my passion, and my love to be with you. God bless you. Have a wonderful week.
Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Don't you think we'd shine?
And now if we can stand and run the peace song in our minds, since we don't want to sing.
We can sing, we got masks on.
We got one more.
I'm just trying to do what
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Thank you, Tom. And together we say the prayer for protection. The light
Light
of
of
God
God
surrounds
surrounds
us.
us, The love of God upholds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Wednesday?
Yes, BJ, what's a good time to call you?
I'm so glad you came. Programs for next week. What about the programs for next week? And how are we gonna pay Andy? You and I are gonna be here. Oh, you'll be here. Oh, okay. Okay, good, good.
I sent her an order service.
Okay. BJ will be here next week.
She's
Huh? Yeah. I think Chris. So that these people are familiar.
Yeah.
You know.
Are we meeting Wednesday?
Yeah, I guess. At least it's supposed to send us a link.
We'll find out, huh?
Yeah, yes, we will. Yeah, because we need to talk about, maintenance, we need to talk about Jay's, what's he gonna do, with what's his intentions with the church. Yeah. Okay. Oh, good, I really hope you're gonna be here next week, that's great, okay, good. And let's see, this next week I'll come out, but what I'll do is leave the money over there, if you count it, I'll come get it. And I'll come get it Monday, and I'll take it, and get it taken care of. And whatever's in the prayer thing, prayer box, look in there, I see you running that.
I know.
And for you too.
It will. There's a people that are I know. Really? Yeah.
That's what gets your fire ready.
Sideways,
Okay, the reason to decide for the special song, we always have.
Well, because it was all about stuff.
Yeah, but now we're going to well, that's a wrong I think the social chairs are right.
Yeah, I know you got up before, but I didn't know if you were going to attend any of those.
No, I don't care about it.
I think you did, your dues more than anybody else.
There's an order of service and I'll send it. If you have a good meeting too, tomorrow.
Okay, but I'm gonna call it the Shirley presence. Okay, all right, I'll call her. Thank you. All right.
That's all for
Okay.
I'm not